Welcome to the Budgeting, Planning, and Forecasting Made Easy with IBM Planning Analytics and Soterre. We're excited to share this with you guys today. And today we're going to be talking about all the cool new functionality of Planning Analytics, and we might actually kind of challenge some of you that maybe even on an upgraded version, but not using the new functionality. You know, when you don't use the new functionality, it's like, do you remember when you got your first car that had Bluetooth in it? And maybe you didn't set it up right away, and then your buddy gets in the car and they're like, why don't you have the Bluetooth running? You're like, what's that? Like, that's where you guys are at if you've upgraded and are using the latest, you have installed the latest version, but not using the functionality. So it looks like everyone's starting to join. Welcome, everyone. My name is Heather Cole, and I am the founder of Lodestar Solutions. We are super excited to share with you guys the new stuff in planning analytics. So Mike Bernache, my partner in crime, is here with me today to present that to you. And then we're going to show you this amazing tool that maybe you haven't heard of. It's called Soterre by Modio. Now, if you're a Cognos Analytics client, you've probably heard of our friends over at Modio because they have amazing tools to help with your administration on Cognos BI. But guess what? They have amazing tools for TM1 too, and we're going to show that to you today. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to just pause for a moment and say, what questions should you be asking yourself? So I believe that every one of you should be asking these questions at least quarterly. Yes, quarterly. Question number one, what new features exist in planning analytics? IBM is rolling out new versions almost every quarter, and every time they add a little nugget of gold. But if you don't take the time to learn what those are, you'll never use it. You know, I drove my car for like 3 months before I discovered that you can just push on the door lock or on the door handle to lock it. I was like, what? I kind of was embarrassed. I didn't know that, but that's what you can do with TM1 is you can have those mind-blowing discoveries and new features. You also have to ask yourself, have we updated our models as new features were available? Or did we just bypass it and say, we'll do that at a later date? Now, many of you might have bypassed it, but never went back to go look at what you missed. So again, understanding when and where you should implement those new features. And then I always like to say, stop and say, where are we spending the most time? As COVID hit, many of you had to do a new COVID-19 model, forecasting model. You had to spin on a dime and redesign. And wow, that rhymed and I didn't know it. But where are you spending time trying to do maintenance or changes? And is there a better way? And that's our motto here at Lodestar Solutions is there a better way? And so you have to ask that. What are the strategic goals of your company? By the way, these can change. How fast did our business change with COVID? Overnight in many industries. So if you're not asking, how can what I do help the company achieve the strategic goals, you're missing a key ingredient to serving in your company and potentially getting promoted. So you want to ask, what are the strategic goals and how can my models with planning analytics help the executives gain visibility and, most important, predictability in this area? Then you want to look at what challenges are the executives handling that we might be able to address. Now, some of you have to be SOX compliance or HIPAA compliance, and maybe that's a challenge. You know, the executives have to literally sign off on financials. And if they're found like wrong, they can actually be held liable for that. So maybe you need better audit trail capabilities. And we're going to show you today, Soterre by Modio is an amazing tool to help keep better audit trail of the changes that you make in planning analytics. The other thing it's going to do for you that when Mike and I saw this, which I don't know what our problem was, but we saw it way too late. Like this had been out for a while. We've been partners and friends with the Modio team for many years. And we stopped and looked at this product and we're like, why didn't we know about this earlier? Like, why didn't we focus on this? What it's going to allow you to do is make changes, put them into production. And have you ever made a change and said, ooh, oops, I screwed up? That's what this solves. This allows you to kind of take that back and have an audit trail of all of that. It also allows you to promote your models from, let's say, dev to test to production, and do it without restarting the servers. So we're going to show you that today. But these are the questions I really encourage you guys to ask every quarter. And those of you that are active Lodestar clients, we're happy to have this discussion with you every quarter, as well as our Lodestar community that we meet every quarter and show you the cool new stuff. So let's hop right into Mike. Mike, I'm going to pass it over to you. Today we're going to start with Mike and Bernays. If you guys don't know him, you need to go meet up with him on LinkedIn, get to know Mike. He's fabulous. He's going to show us what's new in planning analytics. And then Matt from Modio is going to show us Soterre. So Mike, I'm going to pass it off to you.
All right. Hey, everybody. How you guys doing? Hopefully well. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we've learned over time to record things prior to webinars because of, when you need something, it sometimes disappears on you. So I'm going to play this video recording. It's about 20 minutes. It's going to just take you through some of the newer things in planning analytics and some of the more recent versions. And it also gives you kind of a high-level overview of what you can do in Workspace and planning analytics for Excel. So let me pull up this video and I will hit play and we'll be back in like 20 minutes. All right, welcome to the planning analytics portion of this webinar and demo. This is Mike Bernays, and I'm going to walk through planning analytics at a high level. I think most of you have probably seen a lot of this. Some of you may have not, and some of you may be on the old versions of TM1. So I'm going to try and give a flavor of all of it to you guys. So you get an idea of maybe what's new, or maybe it's the first time you're seeing it. So let's jump in. So as I log in here, you'll see that if you've used Workspace before, but you're not on one of the more recent versions, that the user interface has changed quite a bit. You'll see that there are now 4 main areas. One is applications and plans, reports and analysis, data and models, and administration. Applications and plans is kind of the new, if you're familiar with Contributor, it's a new way to set up maybe your budget or forecast operation within your organization to track the work that's being done with some direct links to the areas that might need the work. And I'll go through a quick demo on that here in a second. Reports and analysis is where modelers and whatnot would spend time to build up reports and dashboards. Data and modules, so your power users or your model builders would spend time in here to build cubes and dimensions and rules and TI processes and all that good stuff. So think architect. For those of you old schoolers, think architect here, but all through Workspace. And then administration. And I'll do a little bit in here. It's brand new and a lot of good stuff in there. IBM's go-forward strategy is really Workspace as a one-stop shop for everything that you might do inside of Planning Analytics or TM1. So you no longer may have to, go to Architect or TM1 Web or this, that, or the other. So really one-stop shop for everything you might need to do. And then there's also a great area up here, the help area, and IBM has done a fantastic job of creating a knowledge center to really help do what you might be looking for. So, one of the new things that they've added in recently is this ability to do a little bit of light AI forecasting. So if I were to type in forecast, you'll see that there are lots of different links here. And that can actually take you through how to create a forecast really, really quick in terms of the system generating what that forecast might look like. So please use this Knowledge Center. It is really, really helpful. So I'm going to start here in Applications and Plans. And you'll see that I've created what I've called Budget 2021. And if I were to click on that, you'll see that it's, kind of like Microsoft Project or Smartsheet, which is what we use, or any other project management software. Obviously, it's a much lighter version, but a good starting point if you want to create a plan to submit around your organization to have work done. And you'll see here that I've just started putting in, typical steps in a budget process. So, we're going to set targets. I've assigned the asset, or work in this case, which is the cube or the input area. As target setting, I've assigned a group to that. So maybe there's a few people in the revenue group. A due date, they're going to have to submit that, and then you'll see the progress as you move along. And then you'll see, as I've written, all these in here, kind of just a quick high-level budget process ending on April 30th. Up top, you'll see that there are 46 days left in the plan. The plan is still open. As this becomes 100%, I can simply close that, and we'll move on to the next area. So I'm going to jump out real quick and just show you how quick it is to kind of open up the contribution of this. So if I were to open up contribution, you'll see that the first step in this was target setting, correct? So it has gone through and assigned, this target setting input area where I could go in and complete my work. And once I'm done, I hit submit, and then we're going to be on to the next step. So really kind of a neat feature that they've added. Something that I think people will get more and more use out of. You can create unlimited plans, so you could create them for each department, or you could create an overall plan, bring them all together. So really, really powerful, and a nice upgrade in the more recent releases of Workspace. Next, I'm going to go into a book. So a book inside of Workspace is just a collection of widgets, cubes, reports, things of that nature. And as I open this, I'm going to go ahead and start with revenue. Kind of go through a day in the life of maybe somebody who needs to add a product, maybe figure out how to budget that product, maybe associate that budget off of another product, and then watch how everything kind of moves together in unison as I'm entering information. So you'll see here that I have a new product entry. This was created in Planning Analytics for Excel. You could do the same thing in Workspace, but I can go up here and I can decide that maybe I want to add a product in. Maybe I want to, set that underneath a parent. Maybe I want to even put in what that forecast might look like, so on and so forth. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and maybe just enter a brand new product. I'm going to put this under the 4G smartphones, and maybe we're going to call this 4G 128 gigabyte phone. So this is a brand new product. I could put in a forecast here that I want to, I think we're going to sell maybe 2,500 of these, and I want to base that off of the 32 gig product. And I'm going to go ahead and hit add product, and you'll see that it's now dumped in here. You'll see that it has kind of spread this here to give me a look at, okay, how is that going to look based off of the spread before? Maybe I agree with that, maybe I don't. Okay. I can then go down here. I could input simply 100 here, and I could input 132 here if I wanted to, or I could use what we call relative proportional spread and spread this throughout the year, right? I mean, I could even go, let's put in 1,000 and spread it equally, but maybe that doesn't make sense. And as I do this, you'll see that the chart here is moving. So maybe I want this to spread relative proportional to a certain product. Maybe I want it to go off of that 32-bit phone. I'm going to hit next. You'll see that there's a value there. Maybe I only want this to spread off of Maryland, so let's make sure we do that. Okay, and maybe I want this, 2,500 here, and you'll see that this is now spread based off of the phone that I have there. I can do the same thing here. There's a number of different spreads that are available to me or to the user who's inputting the data to spread that data back. So maybe I'll just put in 1,500 here, 500 here across the board, and we'll input that budget. So now that we've done that, you'll see that our charts have moved. I could then go over and maybe I need to update costs. So I could do the same thing here and update costs for these different phones to get me to an end result of, hey, how does it look for my channel? How does it look in my margin? So on and so forth. So you'll see that they're all interconnected, all real time as I input data. My next step might be to go into workforce planning, and maybe I need to add in excuse me, a new employee named Joe. Maybe Joe's going to be in our HR department. You'll see that all of these are connected and smart to know that I've selected HR, so it's going to give me a new pick list. Maybe we're hiring a new HR manager. I could go in and set the merit. I could set, all of that good stuff. And you'll see that items will move as I update. Maybe I need to give our new sales employee a nice merit percent here. You'll see that the chart's now updated again. The totals will update here after I put in the FTE. Now I have all of this information loaded. Again, customizable input, flow through the whole model. Then I can jump over to operating expense, and I could see operating expenses. Again, I could enter data in here. Here I've chosen one of our new charts, which is a waterfall chart, to show you how I've gone from each month, how I calculate up to the total. I could do this for payroll and see, okay, do I have anything that's maybe an outlier? Why is December lower than November? Is it timing, or is there, did we let somebody go? Whatever it might be. You could take this a step further and look at some KPI data. So you'll see that we have those fun green and red and yellows that I can quickly get a real quick view of how things are going, right? I can look at HR and say, our status on a lot of these are green, which is great, but hey, vacation days is kind of in a yellow status and the trend is down. We've only had 50 taken, 56 was the target, so on and so forth. So again, real quick view into how the business is doing from a management or executive level. One of the great features in planning analytics is something called virtual hierarchies. What a virtual hierarchy is, gives you the ability to add in an attribute to an existing dimension without having to rebuild that dimension and then report off of it. So let's say that management came to you and said, hey, I really need to track these different cell phones, maybe by plant produced. And maybe that data just hadn't been loaded in our cubes yet. It wasn't available. And in a typical world, or in old TM1, you'd have to create that dimension, rebuild the cubes, reload the data, and it could take some significant amount of time. Well, here all I have to do is go ahead and add in that attribute. And we'll go ahead and create that. You'll see that it's loaded in here. And now I could just go in here and say, maybe this is plant 1, maybe this is plant 2, and we're just going to give them, names for to make it easy. Plant 1, plant 1, plant 3, and we'll just call that plant 4, and we won't fill in the rest of them. Okay, but we started loading in some data. Haven't had to rebuild anything. Well, now all I need to do is right-click on this and say Create Hierarchy, and hit OK. And we'll jump over here to our ad hoc analysis. Same product listing. Now maybe I want to add that hierarchy into this ad hoc analysis. And now you'll see that real quick, I've added in a new dimensional analysis with that virtual hierarchy based on the information I provided. Didn't take me very long. I didn't have to rebuild a cube. I didn't have to reload the data. I could do this on the fly. Really, really important, and really something that highly recommend that everybody use. Another huge feature in planning analytics is the ability to compare sandboxes. So you'll see here that I've created a base and a best case. They're equal at this point in time, but just know that you can create unlimited amount of sandboxes and then actually create visualizations off of them. So, utilizing a sandbox to say, hey, what is it going to look like if we start doing this versus, hey, what does it look like if another pandemic hits and we need to adjust down? You can do all that without affecting your base case or your standard case. And then you could actually promote that best case or worst case to your base case with a couple clicks of a button. So great opportunity to create multiple versions of a forecast or a budget, do that what if analysis, and then promote that to your production data or your base data to move forward. Mapping is available in Planning Analytics. You'll see here that I've just created a quick map, so I can quickly see, darker the better, the number of units sold and who's selling the majority of the units in our business. You also have the ability to edit dimensions, edit your TI processes, and I won't go through all of that, but just wanted to show you. And then with Planning Analytics for Excel, you can create lots and lots of different reports and publish them into Workspace so you can get your Excel reports directly into one online area. So great interconnection, a lot of different cool reports in Planning Analytics for Excel. I'm going to go ahead and open up Planning Analytics for Excel real quick. You'll see here that we'll go ahead and open Excel. It has come a long way versus what Perspectives had and what is needed to be there. So let's get logged in. You'll see that I have all of my different cubes over here. I'm just going to go ahead and select revenue. Okay, so you'll see that I have my different cubes here and my views. I can just open up a simple view, right click, and I can choose any of these reports to use. So an exploration will give you that slice and dice feel, kind of like a TM1 web or using a cube, where I can move different things, I can nest things, and create that ad hoc slice and dice reporting. You also have the ability to create quick reports, which are going to be disconnected reports from the TM1 server. So I could take this report, save it, send it to somebody who's not a TM1 user, and they could be able to view it. It would not be interactive, but you do have that ability to send a report that way. And then you have this dynamic report, which gives you the ability to highly format reports. So if I were to show this format area, you have the ability to mass format a report for publication. So you'll see that I've clicked the show format areas, and this is my format area here, and down below I have my zero level and my leaf level. Well, I could go up top and make all of my zero levels, let's say we're going to just highlight them. I do this to just make it stand out, and maybe I want to change the font on them. And then maybe I want my leaf levels to have no bold, and we can change the fonts on those. And maybe we want to make those blue, like that. And then all I have to do is rebuild this sheet, and you'll see that my actual report has taken in all of the formatting that I put above. Again, I make it look ugly to make it stand out, and to give you the point of it's highly formatted. I can set this up however I want one time and then publish it without having to go each line and highlight or underline or whatever I might want it to look. I also have the ability to double click and get into the set editor, and I could change this from budget to actual, whatever you might want it to be. So again, highly formatted. That's a quick view into Planning Analytics for Excel. And the last thing I want to show is this new admin area. Really a neat little area that you can quickly see your different databases that you have set up. You'll see that I have 2 of them that are currently active. I can go over to the agent, which would be my server, and quickly get just stats on, hey, everything's looking good, or hey, I got a little problem with my disk space. I seem to be running out, and now I know that I need to address that. You can set up alerts and thresholds and all of that good stuff in this area. This is also where you would set up your users and groups for your planning and budgeting. There's a lot of different ways to make customizations, and then the lifecycle management tool is a quick and easy way to promote things from dev to prod, or testing to dev to prod, and whatever it might be. So a really neat area that is, again, all included in Workspace to give you that one-stop shop for Workspace. Again, this is just a quick tour of planning analytics. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, and would love to spend more time with you. Those of you who are Lodestar customers, we have a great library of some videos that we've presented at our user groups. There's more of an in-depth video on Workspace and also planning analytics for Excel. If you're a client of ours and you don't have access to that, please reach out to Heather and I. We'll get you in. You can watch them anytime on demand, and then also take part in our future user groups that we have each quarter. So again, I appreciate your time. Reach out with any questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. All right, so that concludes that video. But I don't know how much time we're going to have for the day, so I'm just going to turn it back over to Heather to get into Soterre, and then hopefully we have some times we can talk about questions and anything that you might have.
Mike, there was a question in the chat that maybe you can answer for us.
Sure.
Andrew asked, can we use virtual dimensions in dynamic reports?
They are available in Planning Analytics for Excel, yes. Dynamic reporting. Let me play with that while you talk about Soterre, and then I will answer that here and as soon as that's over.
Great.
I don't know for sure. I know you can use them in explorations, but I'm not sure about dynamic reports, but let me take a look.
Fabulous. And I'm going to steal my sharing from Mike and be able to share my screen now. So a couple things before we go into the Soterre part, because once I got to tee this up, right? First off, the Workspace stuff, guys, didn't that look amazing? Like, don't you think that your executives and your users, if you're not using Workspace today, how amazing could it be to upgrade to the latest version and roll that out? Here's the couple things. Some of you own this already in your licensing. You might just not be using it. Some of you, however, have owned TM1 for years and you don't have it today. So if that's you, if you have what we call performance management users, we need to talk. We need to get you so that you can get into that licensing model. But here's the cool thing. Every one of you that is a modeler, so a power user, has rights to play with Workspace. If you don't have the licensing for all your other users, but you are a modeler, guys, you can start playing with that Workspace today. And I love the idea of build a couple cool things, do a little internal demo to your executives and say, would you like this? And you guys will look like rock stars. So just know that if you have any questions at all, whether you own it or you don't, just shoot us an email. We'll let you know. Now we're going to go into Soterre, though. So Soterre is a product by Amodio that allows power users and modelers of planning analytics like you to have this, like what I call this sigh of relief. So have you ever had a situation where you go and you're like, oh, let me get rid of the old stuff, and then you're starting to make changes, and then I don't know about you, but when I'm deep in work, the phone rings, and it's always my mother. She always calls at the worst time, and I'm like, yeah, Mom, and like if I don't talk to her, she thinks I don't love her anymore. So of course I talk to her, and then I'm multitasking, and then what happens? I delete the wrong application. It's like, oh, and you have one of those moments. I think all of us that have worked in any kind of technical capacity have had one of those moments where you suddenly realize you screwed something up and you did it on a massive level. Well, Soterre is going to allow us to kind of get back to where we were. And then what they're also going to be able to do is help us dissect what changes. So let's say we had a model and all of a sudden the budget numbers looked just crazy weird. So you knew it wasn't someone just keying in one thing, but they were all like really inflated numbers. And you're like, what happened? So Tara's going to be able to have you go back. Instead of some of you, I know some of you have the journal, like the journal where every time you're making a massive change, you're writing it down to note it. That is not a great audit trail. So Soterre is going to allow us to do that as well. A little bit about Soterre by Matt.
Okay, before I hop into the Soterre application itself, I want to start the demo looking at my TM1 server. And let's say I've been asked to do a couple different tasks. Let's say the first task I've been asked to do is to clean up one of the old application folders that contains an application that we no longer need. So let's say I've been asked to delete this bottom-up input application. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and then move on to my next task. Now, at this point, I'm going to realize that I just made a mistake. I accidentally deleted the wrong application folder. So I'm going to need to recover that, and I'm going to need to do it quickly so that hopefully no one notices that that happened. So luckily, I do have Soterre installed and running on this environment, and I have versioned all of the content. So it's fairly trivial for me to restore that content. So I'm going to hop over to the Soterre server, and I'm going to explore in my development environment under my planning sample server. In my application folders, planning sample, I see that the management reporting application folder has been deleted. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the change history for this, and I'm going to restore this back to this environment. Now, the way this is configured right now, it's just going to write back the application folder and not its content. So I am going to need to define a different source here, where I basically pick that application folder, and there's a checkbox here to include its descendants. So this is much closer to what I want to do. And now that I have that configured, I can instruct Soterre to restore all the applications under this folder as they were as of yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and pick yesterday there. If I preview this, I'll see that the three applications and the folder are going to get restored, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this and get this stuff written back to this environment. So this is only going to take a few seconds to do, and this has recovered those deleted applications. So now if I switch back to my T1 environment and I refresh my applications view, we can see here that the management reporting folder is back, as well as those three applications. So now let's do what I was originally asked to do, which is to delete the bottom-up input application. Let's say another thing I was asked to do was to make change to a cube view. So let's say under my budget plan, my budget input detailed view, I was asked to add the local dimension to the rows subset. And now that we have that set, we can go ahead and save this, and we can overwrite the existing view and close that. And then let's say the third thing I've been asked to do is investigate why the budget cube has inflated numbers. So to actually answer this question, I'm not going to do my investigative work inside of TM1. I'm going to go back to Soterre to try to answer this question. So one of the things you can do in Soterre is pull up a timeline of all changes that have happened in a particular environment. So I'm going to open up this planning sample node in Soterre and look at the timeline of changes of things that have happened in this environment. And I'm actually looking for changes within a specific time period. So I'm going to filter this view to show me only changes, and then only show changes that have happened after a certain date. So if I pick yesterday, for example, and press OK, this is going to show me all the changes that have happened in this environment between yesterday and today. And I know I've been asked to look at why a budget cube is causing issues. So just scanning down this list and going down, I can see that this plan load budget process has been updated recently. and perhaps this has changes that are causing the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the change history for this particular process and compare the process code to the previous version to see if maybe there's been a change that's causing the numbers to seem inflated. So I'm going to go ahead and use the comparison tool, and it's probably in the data procedure. And so if I look at the actual change here, you can see that instead of just putting the raw value into the cube, it's now putting the value times 110. This is probably not the correct solution, so I'm going to go fix that in my TM1 environment. So if I hop back over to my dev environment and I go into my processes, I can go ahead and change that. And that was on the data tab, and here's the 110. And let's say while I'm also in here, I'm going to remove this line above this, which is a commented out line that just logs some information. So I'll make that change as well, and I'll save these changes. Now let's suppose that I like all the things I just did, and I want to deploy my cube view change and my process change from my develop environment over to my testing environment. That's very easy to do with Soterre. I don't need to shut down servers, copy files, start servers back up. I can do this all while the servers are running. So if I go back over to Soterre and I want to first verify that this has picked up that change, and you can see that it has indeed picked up that change. And once again, if I quickly diff this, we'll see that in the data procedure, I deleted those two lines and replaced them effectively with this line. So now I want to deploy this change, so I'm going to go ahead and start my deployment using this process as my starting point, and I'm going to log into my target server, and then I'm going to add, in addition to this process, I'm going to add the modification I made to that view. And now that I've selected the two changes from dev that I want to move to my testing environment, I can go ahead and run this. And this will apply both of those changes to my testing environment. And as soon as this runs, I'll hop over to my testing environment, and we'll verify that those two changes have indeed taken place. So if I open up my view, I should now have 3 entries in my row subset, and that is correct. And then if I look at my processes and I look at my budget process, we'll see that indeed the cell put in has the correct value, and that commented out logging line has been removed. So this was a real quick and brief introduction to version control and deployment using Modio Soterre for TM1. And that's it. That's all I wanted to show today.
Well, wasn't that awesome? Don't you guys love being able to see that? Let me fix my screen here for you guys. Back to where we should be. Okay. So if you have questions on that, please put them on the chat. We'll go ahead and field those as you guys send them in. So we wanted to make sure that today our goal was to show you how amazing the new version was. Did we accomplish that, guys? If you could do me a favor, put it in the chat, 0 to 10, 10 meaning, oh my gosh, I saw some cool new things I need to implement and to think about. 0, if we completely miss the mark, put that in the chat too. We want to hear from you guys as how we're doing. Now, if you are an active Lodestar client, and what I mean by that, you either get your renewal with us, you buy licenses from us, or you maybe have worked with us for services. That puts you as a Lodestar client. Now, if you're not, we'd love you to be a Lodestar client, but for all of you, since I know a lot of you are on here that are active Lodestar clients, make sure you are members of our Lodestar Social Club and community. We will take this video as well as all the others we have, and we'll make sure they get put into that community so you guys can see those and go rewatch them anytime you want. If you don't have access to this, this is in our Kajabi system. Most of you know where this is. This is the same place that we have our quarterly client user group that we have just for Lodestar people. Now, if you missed previous user groups, we had some amazing content in the last 2. Our next one is scheduled for May 18th. Put that on your calendar, everyone. May 18th is the next Lodestar user group. And if you have ideas on what you want to see in that, just send us a quick message. You can go back and see all of the sessions from the February and the November user group right there in our Kajabi system. So make sure you have access. If you have other people in your firm that need to see that and don't have access, again, just shoot us an email. We'd be happy to help. Now, we want to chat with you guys. We showed you virtual dimensions, which are my favorite. That was the ability to create a new dimension on the fly, put it in the cube, and start to do analysis. For those of you that have CFOs that are constantly changing their mind, who are you? A lot of you. This can make you look like a rock star. You don't have to tell them that there's new functionality to allow you to do it. You could just be like, oh, it's going to take me all weekend, but let me see what I can do. And then click, 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 you put the data in and bam, you're up and running. If you're doing the administration and you want better audit trail capabilities to see what was changed, if you have multiple modelers in your system, I think Soterre should be a requirement. Now, it is a third-party tool, so just contact Lodestar Solutions. We can work with Modio and make sure that we can get you that tool that allows you to undo when you screw up. Anybody ever screw up? I know I have, and sometimes in a major way. It was a life learning experience. But contact Mike and I. We can hook you up and figure out, do you own workspace? We can talk to you about moving your Excel files from perspectives into PAFE, I guess they call it, planning analytics for Excel. We're here to help you guys. So please reach out to us today. Share with us what other things that you want to learn about, and that's where we create our content. So I want to put a big shout out to our Modio friends too. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all your amazing products. So if you have any other questions, please go ahead and put them in chat or send us an email, and we look forward to working with all of you. And Mike, I don't see any other questions in the chat except for I think, yes, I agree, you need better color design skills. Yes, I think your wife needs to help you with that. Well, thanks, everyone. Everyone have a fabulous day.
Hey, real quick, if you're still there, whoever asked about the attributes of virtual dimensions and planning analytics for Excel, absolutely available in explorations. You can take that exploration and convert it to a quick report, and it will be available there. In terms of a dynamic report, it's really not readily and easily available there, but I am playing with a couple things now. So, Heather, who was it who asked? Do you know?
Andrew. We'll reach out to you, Andrew.
Okay. Yep. Once I'm done playing with it, I'll give you that answer for sure.
And we can send out anybody that puts questions. We will share the answers to those questions to everyone via email. So
and I will, if I figure it out and a way to do it, because it looks like you can add in that attribute into the set editor, and then I'm just trying to figure out how to get it onto the report. So if I do, I'll actually cut a little video and send it to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.